Ladies and gents, are we going to see leadership, the top enlisted, be held accountable? People are asking some very vital questions if there is negligence from some stuff that's happened over at Andrews Air Force Base with the Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force, Joanne Base's husband. Now, if you guys forget, we talked about this only like 2 years ago now, but she first made waves as she was battling out the cyber bullies and trying to make her notoriety and claim to fame about her last name being Bass, whatever it was, as people kept joking on it, as people were unsure of what it was. And she took to the social media sphere to try and get somebody in trouble over some of these comments. But that is not what we're talking about today, as now we are seeing what appears to be a violation of what could have been a base order, and I'm unsure of this, but let's talk about it. So this came from Air Force Times, where it says, husband of top enlisted airman fired warning shot at base intruder. So reading just the headline of that, you're saying a husband, a military spouse on a military base fired or discharged their weapon onto somebody as a warning shot. Put that in perspective, where military bases have such a level of security that they need people to be able to show ID to get on and off of them, right? That's very basic knowledge that's out there. An understanding of who and who is not allowed to have a firearm should be a very concerning thing that we look at this through this lens at. It says the husband of the Air Force's top enlisted leader fired a warning shot at an intruder who was outside their home at Joint Base Andrews in suburban Washington on Monday. The service confirmed to Air Force Times. Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force, Joanne Base, the most senior enlisted airman and advisor to the Air Force Chief of Staff, said she and her husband, Ron Base, are safe. Now, granted, I do appreciate the safety of not only them if this is an intruder trying to come to their house, and they haven't really talked much about in details of that. And obviously, you know, I would say, what about the safety of the rest of the community if there is a warning shot being fired off? A warning shot. Now, I believe her husband may have had some, veteran service to, equate to maybe understanding basics of firearm handling. And I don't know if it's Air Force or what they're taught, but you are to keep 4 things in your head whenever you are handling a weapon. Treat, never keep. Treat every weapon as if it's loaded. Never point a thing you don't intend to shoot. Keep your finger off the trigger. Keep the weapon on safe. And the 5th one is a bonus here. I'll give you that. Know what is beyond your target that you're firing at, which if he misfired this into the air or wherever, where did that round go? What would happen if this was some other junior E3 person that wanted to do this on base housing? That is a specific question we need to ask. Joanne Base then writes, we appreciate the outpouring to support we received after this incident. I can confirm that my husband, Ron, was involved and is safe, thanks to the quick response and professionalism of our security forces airmen, she said in an email statement on Tuesday. And she then goes on to say, we are grateful that they were able to apprehend the individual, and we will continue to work with law enforcement as our investigation continues. And so it looks like somebody did come to their house on this military base, which is like, I have my own questions as to why that's still a thing, why we allow one centralized location sometimes for the houses of people that are very important, and it makes it very easy to annotate, who's important here? Let me walk around. I'm looking, you make a house look fancy on a base where there's not many other fancy houses. People are going to say probably that. Or sometimes if they have a label or something on them, it's like, that's the guy I'm looking for. It almost makes them a target. And so I almost want to say, would it be a better question that we don't allow these top official people to live on a regular military base? I don't know. I don't know if that's the best suggestion, because even in this article, the Air Force Times cites security issues specifically with the Andrews Air Force Base. They say this is the 5th security incident in 2 years at Joint Base Andrews, one of the nation's most sensitive military bases. That is because it's near DC. So if you're having this many incidents, especially where some of the top officials, your top enlisted person of an entire branch, had somebody go to their house and threaten the husband enough to say that they would fire or discharge their weapon as a warning shot, what's that mean? And I do wonder if there's going to be base security that's going to come over, make sure that they're watching the house. But I mean, what's the longevity of this? If one person knows they can do it, what's that mean for the rest? What's that mean for the security of the information on the base? They're then going to say, during the incident, which occurred at about 11:30 a.m. Monday, a man gained unauthorized access to a JBA housing area. Andrews said in a statement posted to Twitter. It says a resident discharged a firearm. Security forces arrived on scene to apprehend the intruder, and law enforcement is investigating the incident. And it doesn't help, as it seems like there have been some criticisms, which I am going to share about what I've already kind of mentioned, but also the education that is going out from this base, where it looks like they tried to be a little bit silent about what was happening, not being very transparent, especially as we've seen bases go on lockdown for having somebody with a weapon that wasn't supposed to be on base, or maybe they found something that was suspicious. And so I look at this and I'm like, during an incident like this, you have to be a little more transparent than just, shh, we don't want to get the Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force in trouble. You don't want to know what her husband did. It says social media users criticized the installation for keeping mum on the incident for several hours. A spokesperson for the 316th Wing, which oversees the day-to-day operations at Andrews, said they would release another update on the response Tuesday. They say that the intruder was apprehended because the mouse ears cap he was wearing struck an observant airman as odd. Inspector General investigation found 3 main security failings, starting with the human error by a gate security guard who allowed the man to drive onto base even though he had no credentials that authorized his access. Hours later, the man walked undetected onto the flight line by slipping through a fence designed to restrict entry. Finally, he walked onto an off-parked airplane without being challenged, even though he was not wearing a required badge authorizing access to a restricted area. This is the Swiss cheese model that you're going to see, where hole here, hole here, hole here, whoop, went all the way through. This guy made it to the flight line, which, if you guys don't know, you typically need some access to get onto a flight line. You don't just get to walk on. This is not GTA 5 where you get to hop in whatever F-18 that they have in the video game, or now F-35 or whatever else. You get to fly around, act like you're going to ruin and, destroy the city. That is not how this works. So I have to say I do have so many questions. One of those being the first initial entry of the gate. I know a lot of these security forces guys, they get mundane, burned out task of checking IDs. Where's the scanner? Where's the beep beep? That is something that has to be known. And the fact that they're going to have cameras of this, whoever was on that gate and didn't do their due diligence, I would love to see what they do to them, because, as much as we can get on this, spouse of the Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force's situation, the person that didn't stop them at the gate is where you're going to have the biggest issue here. And they have not even annotated that there's any other level of, motive for this individual that's out there. But I do want to go over to Facebook, because there are a ton of criticism against Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force's husband, and kind of analyzing this from a different perspective. Brandon Johnson says, well, that's definitely a felony, but don't worry, they'll rank their way out of any accountability. Mike McDonald says, lots of questions on this one. Start with the why is the dependent firing a quotations warning shot at an intruder? Was intruder armed? Where were the security forces? Makes a valid point here. Like, why didn't they call 911? Lock your door. How did it escalate to the situation that somebody thought bring out a firearm as a warning shot was the appropriate action? Situational awareness that you're on a military base, right? What if that round went off somewhere and, killed somebody else? Where would we be at with this? And I would say that it's a liability. I don't know if this person should have firearms on base anymore. And yes, the security needs to be addressed. And my last question here is, what are the policies for Andrews Air Force Base to ensure that they don't have weapons just laying around wherever they're at, and in improper hands? Every base has its own policy and procedures that you can bring firearms for specific reasons just like this. So I would love to hear what Andrews has to say as far as their public affairs announcement is. Like, did we remove the weapon from this? Are they living on base still? There's a lot of accountability here that has to start, yes, from the gate, but moving every step back. And the only person I can commend on all this is the fact there was some random airman that said, there's a guy with some mouse ears on, and we got to figure out what's going on. But let me know, what do you guys think about the situation? How do you think that the Air Force should handle a situation like this? And do you think they're going to do anything about it? Let me know down in the comments below. If you guys do like comments or commentary like this, hit me up over on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, TikTok, or down in the comments below. I love you guys. I'll see you next time.